Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. This is developed by Playtonic and published by Team 17, so a massive thanks to them for the early review copy and making this video possible. Now the people behind Playtonic are actually some of the staff behind Rare Studios. These guys made classics like Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country. And the first Yooka-Laylee was basically a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't too bad, and there was a lot of mixed reviews with that game. And I'm just going to say that I'm actually quite proud of them for not just giving up and actually going through with another Yooka-Laylee game. And this time around I think they did a great job. I'm definitely enjoying this one more than the first one. Now this one's more of a spiritual successor of Donkey Kong Country. It's got a lot of elements that kind of remind us of those games. There's a lot of different things, a lot of things that all remind us of the original Yooka-Laylee, which is obviously a good thing as well because there are a lot of elements in that game that I definitely did enjoy. Now this time around it's a 2D platformer, at least for the most part all the main levels are. But at the same time you're going to get this overworld as a hub area, and you're pretty much free to roam around as much as you like, and this is kind of a bit more top down, more classical Yooka-Laylee style with collectibles, secrets and stuff, but we'll be talking about that in a second. Now for the standard 2D levels, which is obviously the main levels, you can pretty much expect anything you expect from a decent 2D platformer, and obviously this is where the Donkey Kong Country DNA comes in as well. They start off pretty simple and then they kind of start to ramp up the difficulty right next to the end, though it's never going to be like incredibly hard. The game isn't that tough on you, and plus it's got this little system where if you're stuck at one checkpoint for too long you can just decide to skip ahead to the next checkpoint. Obviously it's not something that I recommend, since in these type of 2D platformers there's a lot of hidden paths and a lot of secret collectibles in the levels, and there's sometimes even like little secret exits that will take you back to an otherwise inaccessible place in the overworld. And in general it's just really nice to explore these levels. What I do like about these levels is that they never get too long. Basically from the start of the game all the way until the end of the game, the levels never really get too long. They're always kind of this medium length, and I think it's a really nice length. They don't get in your nerves, it doesn't start to get boring, and that's something that I really do appreciate. Another thing I do like about the levels in this game is that, for instance, if you're on the overworld and you get to a desert area, that doesn't necessarily mean that all the levels around that area on the overworld are going to be desert levels, and that way you don't get bored of seeing the same theme over and over again, and that's something that I do appreciate. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be like multiple levels that are quite similar, but they're just not going to be like straight after each other. On the other hand, I do think that there should be a bit more variety of levels in total, because some of them do look a little bit more of the same, but overall it's pretty decent. Another thing worth noting about the 2D levels on this specific game is that there's not going to be any bosses. Now to be honest, personally I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I really don't mind. I guess there's just more of a personal opinion. The only bosses that you will be fighting in this game are on the final challenge. Now the final challenge is a bit special on this game. You can access the final challenge as soon as you start the game. Technically you could just start up the game and go straight there and complete the game if you're incredibly good. Now the only point of completing the game is that each time you beat a level you're going to get a battalion, and these are going to basically be extra hits that you can take on the final challenge. So obviously if you complete the game, the final challenge, which is kind of like this massive long level with a few boss fights in it, is obviously going to be a bit easier, but even so it's going to be a tough challenge. I mean, like, it's really weird. There's a massive difficulty spike because all the normal levels really aren't that hard, even the end ones, but this one kind of just chucks you in this level with a lot of things that you've never even really seen before, and I think the difficulty spike is pretty brutal, and just the sheer length of it is it's pretty tough. So yeah, it's kind of weird. It feels a bit more maybe of like a post-game content than an actual final level. Nonetheless, it's kind of cool. I'm sure there's a lot of skilled players out there that's probably going to jump straight into the game, practice on that level without getting any extra hits, and do it without getting hit. That'd be pretty cool to see. Now, as for the overworld, which is kind of like the hub area where you choose level. This is probably my favorite part of this game. It takes a lot of elements from like the original Yooka-Laylee, but at the same time it also reminds me of like the old classic Zelda games. There's a ton of puzzles to be done, there's a ton of collectibles to be found, and I really do enjoy figuring some of these things out. There's kind of quite a lot of secret things to be seen, and there's still a few things that nobody's found out yet. And yeah, it's kind of more of a chill feeling because there's not really that many enemies around, and it's just all about thinking. You can also maybe find a clue around there and then try and figure it out, and it's just a lot of fun. That's definitely one of my favorite things on this game. And really that's about it, I think. So I definitely really did enjoy this Yooka-Laylee more than the first one. From me is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. Hopefully this review is helpful, guys. If it was, please go like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please consider supporting me over on Patreon. This will allow me to get more games and produce more videos. Thanks ever so much for the support. Take care, guys.